In a quiet corner of the Milky Way, far from the noise of busy star systems, a small silver-colored alien ship named Velcura drifted through space. It was not a warship or a trading vessel. It was an exploration ship, designed for peaceful missions, and its crew was made up of the Varnak species, slender, tall beings with pale, glassy skin and eyes that glowed softly like liquid silver. The Varnak were known for their curiosity about life and their deep belief that every planet held stories waiting to be discovered. The crew of the Velcura had been traveling for months through empty space, collecting data from stars, asteroids, and dead planets. The mission had become routine, almost boring. Then one day, the communication console on the bridge started to blink with strange signals. At first, the crew thought it was static interference caused by a nearby pulsar. But when they looked closer, they realized it was something else, something alive. The signals were repeating in strange patterns, rising and falling like a heartbeat. Captain Rel, an older Varnak with a calm but sharp mind, ordered the ship to analyze the data. The results surprised everyone. The signals weren't random. They carried structure, rhythm, and coded information. The planet the signals were coming from was a small blue world circling a yellow star, a planet its inhabitants called Earth. To the Varnak, it looked like an unremarkable planet at first. There were no visible energy fields, no signs of warp technology, and no large-scale orbital platforms. It seemed primitive, too primitive to be broadcasting signals into space. Rel's science officer, a young Varnak named Tyrell, was the first to suggest that the signals might be an attempt at communication. "Perhaps it's a distress call," he said, adjusting the sensors. "Or a greeting." The crew laughed at the idea of a primitive world trying to talk to the stars, but curiosity got the better of them. The Velcura changed course and headed toward the blue planet to investigate. As the ship drew closer, more and more signals filled the communication array. The airwaves around Earth were overflowing with sound. Music, voices, strange advertisements, laughter, and even arguments. The Varnak couldn't believe it. No other species they had ever encountered produced such chaotic transmissions. The data wasn't just random. It was emotional, full of noise and energy. It was as if billions of beings were all trying to talk at once, all across the planet. Tyrell began to isolate patterns and played one of the recordings over the ship's speakers. A human song echoed across the bridge, something cheerful, full of rhythm and heart. None of the Varnak could understand the words, but the tone of it stirred something in them. It was the sound of life, untamed, unpredictable, and passionate. "Captain," Tyrell said quietly, "this world isn't dead. It's full of voices." Rel leaned forward, studying the blue planet that now filled the ship's viewport. White clouds swirled above blue oceans, and continents stretched across its surface like scars and veins. "We may have found something rare," he murmured. "A young species trying to reach the stars." Despite their fascination, the crew remained cautious. The Varnak had learned from experience that young civilizations could be dangerous, unpredictable, emotional, and often violent. But the signals from Earth showed no signs of organized defense or unified command. From space, it looked like chaos, not control. The Velcura's scanners showed weapons on the surface, but nothing that could threaten a ship in orbit. The Varnak concluded that the planet was safe to approach. That night, while the ship floated silently above Earth's orbit, the crew held a discussion in the observation chamber. Tyrell was excited and wanted to make contact. "This is what we were made for," he said eagerly. "To explore, to learn. We can introduce ourselves peacefully." Another crew member, Letha, disagreed. "They're not ready," she warned. "Look at their transmissions. They fight with each other constantly. They pollute their own air. They send signals full of fear and anger. What makes you think they won't turn on us?" The debate went on for hours, but Captain Rel made the final call. "If they are intelligent enough to broadcast into space, then they are intelligent enough to listen," he said. "We will send a simple message. Nothing threatening, only an introduction." The crew worked together to compose the message. They decided on a universal pattern used across the galaxy, mathematical pulses that represented peace and curiosity. Then, using their advanced transmitter, they converted the message into the same frequency range as the human radio signals, ensuring that the inhabitants of Earth would be able to detect it. When everything was ready, Rel gave the order. "Transmit." A soft hum filled the ship as a beam of invisible energy shot toward Earth. The message traveled through the atmosphere, passing over oceans, mountains, and cities. It was simple but clear. We come in peace. Identify your planetary authority. On Earth, the message arrived in the middle of the night over the Australian desert, where a small group of radio astronomers were monitoring deep space frequencies. When they first saw the repeating signal on their screens, they thought it was an equipment glitch. The pattern was too clean, too perfect. But after several tests, one of them, a young scientist named Emily, realized it was not from Earth. She called her supervisor, trembling with excitement. "It's repeating exactly every 7 seconds," she said. "It's structured, not random. Sir, I think it's from out there." Within hours, observatories in other countries picked up the same signal. Confusion spread as governments tried to keep the discovery secret, but leaks began to appear online. Amateur radio operators recorded the strange sound and uploaded it to the internet, where it spread like wildfire. People around the world started speculating. Some said it was aliens, others said it was a government experiment. The Varnak crew, meanwhile, monitored everything from orbit. They watched the noise from Earth rise and multiply as news channels, social media, and millions of voices all reacted at once. The translation software struggled to make sense of human languages, but it detected excitement, fear, and laughter. The aliens were shocked by how fast the humans responded, and how emotional their reaction was. Tyrell smiled nervously. "They're loud," he said. "So many voices all at once, it's overwhelming." Rel studied the data in silence. "Perhaps they are afraid," he said. "Or perhaps they are curious like us." What none of the Varnak realized yet was that this single message would change everything. To them, it was just another contact attempt, a simple greeting to a lesser developed world. But to the humans below, it was history being written in real time. Across Earth, people stayed up late, staring at the night sky, wondering who or what was trying to talk to them. Scientists rushed to decode the pattern, while television hosts made jokes about space visitors. Some people prayed, some panicked, and others celebrated. Humanity had always dreamed of the moment they would make contact with another intelligence, but no one had imagined it would happen so suddenly and so mysteriously. As dawn broke over the Earth, the Valkyra continued to orbit silently above, waiting for a reply. Inside the ship, the crew felt a mix of pride and unease. They had achieved what few explorers in the galaxy ever had: first contact with a completely new species. But they also sensed something unpredictable about these humans. There was a wildness in their signals, an energy that made them difficult to read. Rel stood at the viewport, watching the planet spin slowly below. "They call this world Earth," he whispered. "It looks peaceful from here, but I have a feeling there is more beneath the clouds than we understand." Tyrell nodded. "Do you think they'll answer us, Captain?" Rel took a long breath before replying. "Oh, they'll answer," he said softly. "The question is, how?" And so, with that single moment of curiosity, the Varnak unknowingly opened a door they would soon wish they had left closed. Because down on that blue and green planet lived creatures unlike any they had ever met before. Creatures who laughed at danger, thrived on chaos, and would soon show the galaxy why Earth was known, even among the stars, as the Death World. When the alien message first reached Earth, no one really understood what was happening. In a small observatory in the middle of the Australian desert, the night had been calm. The team of radio astronomers on duty were half asleep, listening to the soft hum of their machines when suddenly, one of the monitors began flashing. A sharp, rhythmic signal appeared out of nowhere, perfectly structured and repeating every few seconds. At first, the scientists thought it was just interference, maybe a satellite passing by or some kind of military test. But then the signal came again, perfectly identical, and then again. Emily, the youngest scientist in the group, leaned over the console and frowned. "That's not background noise," she whispered. Her hands trembled slightly as she zoomed in on the waveform. It wasn't random. It had pattern, rhythm, and repetition. It was organized. She called her supervisor, and soon the whole room filled with people watching the repeating pulse echo on the screens. The more they checked, the clearer it became. The signal wasn't natural. It was intelligent. Within the next hour, similar observatories across the world picked up the same signal. In Chile, Japan, Russia, and South Africa, everyone was receiving it. It was global, impossible to ignore. But the strange thing was the message didn't match any known language. It was built from mathematical sequences and harmonic tones that repeated in perfect order. It sounded almost like music, but colder, mechanical. Governments were immediately alerted. The Australian facility went into lockdown, and the data was sent to NASA and the European Space Agency for further analysis. Military satellites were repositioned, communication networks were quietly scanned, and within a few hours, most of the world's intelligence agencies knew something was happening, but none of them understood what. By morning, the signal was still coming, steady and patient, like a heartbeat from the stars. Someone finally managed to decode part of it, translating the mathematical structure into a rough message. The words that appeared on the screen made everyone in the control room stop breathing. "We come in peace. Identify your planetary authority." It sounded like a movie line, something straight out of science fiction. But this was no movie. The coordinates of the signal were traced back to a point high above Earth's atmosphere, somewhere between the moon and the outer orbit of the planet. Whatever was sending the message was out there, floating silently in space. The United Nations called an emergency meeting. Scientists argued with military officers, and political leaders shouted over one another, unsure how to respond. Some believed it was an elaborate hoax, maybe from another country trying to test global reactions. Others insisted it was real, proof that humanity was not alone. In the middle of all this chaos, someone at NASA decided to send a reply. A short, simple message using the same mathematical format. "This is Earth, we hear you." The message was sent, but before it even left the atmosphere, things got complicated. Somehow a copy of the transmission leaked online. Within minutes, it spread across social media platforms. Millions of people read it and started sharing it, adding their own comments, jokes, and theories. Memes flooded the internet, some funny, some terrified. People made posts saying, "Welcome aliens," while others shouted, "It's an invasion." The world was divided between fear and excitement. The aliens, from their ship orbiting above Earth, were listening to everything. They had advanced translation systems that could analyze tone, emotion, and structure of speech. But what they were hearing made no sense. Humans seemed to be panicking and laughing at the same time. Some of their signals were filled with joy, others with anger. The aliens couldn't tell if Earth was celebrating or preparing for war. On the Velcora, Captain Rel stood in silence as the bridge filled with thousands of human transmissions. The data scrolled across the screens like a storm. Voices, music, laughter, even arguments. Tyrell tried to explain. "They're responding, Captain, but not in one voice. There are millions of them, each saying something different." Rel frowned. "Millions? Where is their leader? Their unified command?" "There isn't one," Tyrell replied. "They don't seem to be united. They are separated into many groups, nations, tribes, factions. It's chaotic." The crew exchanged uneasy glances. To the Varnak, this was strange and frightening. No other intelligent species they had met behaved this way. Most civilizations had central governments, clear systems of communication and order. But Earth was a storm of noise, an entire planet shouting in 1,000 different directions at once. Despite their confusion, Rel decided to continue observing. He ordered the ship's sensors to monitor human broadcasts in every frequency. The results were even more confusing. They picked up everything from serious news reports to late-night comedy shows. Some humans were crying on live television. Others were making jokes about aliens eating them. One even played the sound of a cow mooing, claiming it was a universal greeting. Letha, one of the communications officers, shook her head. "They are not taking this seriously. Do they not understand the importance of first contact?" Rel replied slowly, "Perhaps they deal with fear through humor, or perhaps they are not afraid." Down on Earth, governments tried to calm the situation. News anchors read statements saying the signal was under investigation, but it was too late. The whole world was obsessed. People went outside at night staring up at the sky, trying to see the ship. Some claimed they saw strange lights moving among the stars. Religious groups called it a sign from the heavens. Conspiracy theorists said it was proof of alien control that had existed for years. And in the middle of all this, the internet continued its endless storm of jokes and fake videos. Meanwhile, the aliens were starting to get nervous. They had expected a peaceful, controlled response, maybe a message from a single authority. But what they saw instead looked like chaos. Earth species seemed loud, unpredictable, and emotional. They couldn't even agree on whether the aliens were real. Tyrell tried to explain this to his captain. They are unpredictable, but fascinating. They show signs of intelligence and creativity. Some of their images, their sounds, they have beauty. Others are violent. It's as if their entire planet is a mix of art and destruction. Rel didn't reply immediately. He stared at the blue planet below and finally said, "We will continue to study them before approaching closer. Perhaps this confusion is just their way of reacting to the unknown." But confusion was only the beginning. The message had also reached the military. In several countries, radar systems began tracking the unknown object above the Earth. Fighter jets were placed on alert, and defense satellites were reoriented. No one wanted to take chances. They didn't know if the visitors were friendly or not. In the United States, the president held a private meeting with scientists and generals. "If it's real," one general said, "we need to be ready. They might be observing us, studying us. We can't appear weak." But the scientists argued that the aliens had made no aggressive moves. "They said they come in peace," Emily explained. "If we show fear or aggression, it could scare them away, or worse." But the decision was made to keep the military alert anyway. Just in case, from orbit, the aliens noticed something new. Strange metallic shapes and satellites and aircraft were being moved across the planet. Energy readings increased. The humans were mobilizing. Letha looked worried. "They are preparing for war, Captain. We should not have sent that message." Rel's jaw tightened. "We will not respond to their fear. Observe and wait." Down below, the tension kept rising. The signal that had once filled people with wonder now began to fill them with anxiety. News anchors spoke of possible alien contact and people began hoarding food. But amid the panic, others celebrated. Street artists painted alien murals. Children made cardboard spaceships and waved at the sky. Humanity, in its own strange way, was reacting with every emotion possible: fear, joy, curiosity, and laughter all at once. The aliens, however, were growing uneasy. They had never seen a world so filled with contradictions. One moment, humans sang songs of peace. The next, they tested missiles. One channel showed priests praying. Another showed comedians making fun of the situation. How could one species contain so much madness and beauty at the same time? Rel finally spoke what everyone on the bridge was thinking. "Perhaps," he said slowly, "this is not a world of peace at all. Perhaps this is a world of survivors, creatures shaped by danger. They do not fear the unknown because they have faced worse." No one replied. Outside, the blue planet continued to spin, glowing softly beneath its clouds. From above, it looked peaceful. But to the watchers in orbit, Earth now seemed alive with energy, wild, defiant, and unpredictable. The Varnak had made contact. But what they didn't know was that the real test was only just beginning. The humans had heard them, and the humans, in their own chaotic way, were already preparing to answer. The alien crew aboard the Velcura had expected Earth to be quiet, orderly, and simple, a planet they could study without risk. But as their sensors continued to monitor the surface, it became clear that nothing about this world was simple. Humanity was loud, chaotic, and unpredictable in ways the Varnak had never experienced. Every signal they intercepted was a jumbled mix of fear, curiosity, and excitement. Unlike the structured responses from other species the Varnak had contacted, humans sent out multiple voices at once, often contradicting each other. One transmission might call for peace, while another warned of an imminent invasion. The more the Varnak tried to understand, the more confused they became. Every attempt to decode human languages revealed layers of emotion, humor, and even apparent absurdity. Humans laughed in the middle of crisis broadcasts. Children sang songs of imaginary alien visitors, while adults in suits shouted into cameras with anger and confusion. Social media platforms amplified everything, giving every person on Earth a megaphone. The Varnak were overwhelmed. It was unlike anything they had ever seen, a species that could coordinate chaos as easily as it could celebrate success. Captain Rel and his crew realized that observing from orbit was no longer enough. They needed to see the planet directly to understand it. Tyrell, the science officer, suggested sending a scouting drone into the atmosphere. "We can observe them from above," he explained. "We don't need to land or interfere. Just gather data." Rel agreed, carefully authorizing the launch. The drone was small, nearly invisible, and equipped with sensors designed to observe without being detected. As the drone descended, the alien crew watched anxiously. Initially, everything seemed calm. The drone's cameras showed sprawling cities, bustling streets, and glowing networks of lights. But when it entered a densely populated area, something unexpected happened. Military radars detected it. Within minutes, human anti-aircraft systems were tracking its movements. The drone sent back images of soldiers aiming weapons at the sky, launching countermeasures that the Varnak had never seen used in a defensive context. The Velcura crew was shocked. They had assumed that a peaceful primitive species would be cautious but not aggressive. Humans had no idea what the drone was, yet their response was instant and highly coordinated. Defensive satellites, radar systems, and ground forces were all mobilized to intercept a tiny, harmless device. It was both impressive and terrifying. Meanwhile, Earth's population was reacting in the most unexpected way. Ordinary people, unaware of the drone's true nature, began recording strange lights in the sky with their phones. Videos spread instantly across the internet. Memes appeared, joking about alien drones spying on us and the aliens got a parking ticket. News anchors reported on sightings while simultaneously mocking some of the more outlandish claims. The planet had no central authority controlling the narrative, yet somehow the response was unified in its unpredictability. The alien crew tried to make sense of it all. Letha, the communications officer, said quietly, "Captain, I don't think they understand the drone is from us. They are reacting. Creatively, almost playfully." Tyrell nodded. "Creatively and dangerously," he added. "They are responding to threats, but in ways we did not anticipate. Their coordination is unconventional but effective." Captain Rell studied the screens in silence. He had explored hundreds of worlds, observed countless species, but never one like this. These humans were wild, clever, and adaptive. Their ability to turn fear into action, even without clear leadership, was extraordinary. The Varnak had always believed intelligence came with predictability. Earth was proving that wrong. As the drone returned to orbit, the crew began to debate their next move. Tyrell wanted to send a more direct communication, to establish friendly contact immediately. "We cannot study them forever from a distance," he said. "We need to interact, to understand their intentions." Letha, however, warned against rushing. "Every action we take can be misinterpreted. They are unpredictable. Even the simplest gesture could provoke a response we cannot control." Rell made the final decision. Observation would continue, but with extreme caution. He ordered the ship to maintain distance while analyzing human behavior. Every signal, every broadcast, every reaction was studied in minute detail. The crew discovered that humans were capable of incredible ingenuity. Videos showed people improvising defenses, creating makeshift communication networks, and using simple tools in creative ways to achieve complex goals. It was both fascinating and alarming. One of the most confusing aspects was human humor. The Varnak had never encountered a species that could combine danger with comedy so seamlessly. A viral video on Earth showed a person pretending to attack a supposed alien object, only to be interrupted by a cat walking across the scene. The video went global in hours, and humans responded with memes, jokes, and hashtags. The aliens struggled to understand why a species would treat a potentially threatening situation with laughter. It was a form of social cohesion, yes, but also a signal of unpredictability. The humans were also remarkably resilient. Despite panic, fear, and chaos, society did not collapse. Emergency services continued to function. Communications, while disorganized, remained operational. Military forces adapted quickly to new information. The Varnak began to realize that Earth was not simply chaotic. It was a training ground for survival. Every challenge the humans faced seemed to strengthen them rather than weaken them. Captain Rell spoke to his crew. "We may have underestimated them," he said. "They are more than what they appear from orbit. They are organized in their chaos, clever in their madness, and unafraid of the unknown." Tyrell nodded. "It's true, Captain. Their unpredictability is astonishing. It makes them dangerous but also uniquely capable." The crew spent days monitoring, analyzing, and interpreting human signals. They discovered that humans could coordinate without formal systems. When one event occurred, information spread through networks of individuals almost instantaneously. Individuals who had never met could work together to solve problems. It was a decentralized intelligence, a networked species capable of rapid adaptation. The Varnak found it difficult to classify or predict. As the days passed, the aliens grew increasingly aware of humanity's potential for both creativity and aggression. They saw humans inventing new solutions to old problems, building machines and systems from scratch, and defending themselves against unknown threats with ingenuity that defied expectation. It was not just survival. It was a form of brilliance born from necessity. The more the Velcura observed, the more the crew realized that first contact had already occurred, whether they intended it or not. Humans had detected their signals, responded, and were now actively monitoring the skies. Earthlings might not understand the technology behind the transmission, but they were aware, alert, and increasingly curious. The aliens' presence had sparked a chain reaction of intelligence and awareness across the planet. Rel finally concluded that Earth was unlike any world the Varnak had encountered. It was not simple. It was not passive. It was alive with energy, with intelligence scattered across millions of individuals, each contributing to a collective resilience that no single authority could control. The humans' creativity, humor, and adaptability made them unpredictable, but also formidable. The alien crew understood that they had to proceed carefully. Any direct interaction could provoke a response they could not control. Humans had already shown ingenuity in defending against a small, harmless drone. A larger action, even one meant to communicate peace, could escalate unpredictably. Letha voiced the fear that ran through the bridge. "Captain, if we act too soon, they may react in ways we cannot anticipate. They have already demonstrated the ability to adapt rapidly. One wrong move could endanger the ship." Rel nodded, his expression grave. "We will observe. We will learn. And when the time comes to communicate directly, we must choose our actions wisely. This planet, this species, they are unlike anything we have faced before." The Velcura continued its orbit, silently watching. Humanity, with its cacophony of voices, laughter, fear, and ingenuity, was moving below, alive, alert, and unpredictable. The alien crew realized that they were no longer simply observers. They were participants in a story that had already begun, a story that would challenge every expectation they had about intelligence, civilization, and survival. The turning point had come. First contact was no longer theoretical. Humans had responded, and in ways that were impossible to ignore. The aliens' understanding of Earth was still incomplete. But one fact was now clear. The planet was not passive, and its inhabitants were far more capable than they had imagined. From the safety of orbit, the Varnak prepared for the next phase of observation, aware that every choice they made could have consequences they could not predict. Earth was a death world in every sense, dangerous, unpredictable, and alive. And the humans below were already proving that they were capable of more than any alien species could have expected. The Velcura's crew now understood a crucial truth. Intelligence alone was not enough to survive. On Earth, it was adaptability, creativity, and fearlessness that defined true power. And the humans possessed all three in abundance. It was a revelation that would change everything. The aliens had come to study a primitive species, but they were quickly realizing that humanity was far from primitive. It was wild, untamed, and astonishingly clever. A species that could not be easily categorized, predicted, or controlled. The Velcura had opened a door they might one day wish had remained closed. The human world below continued in its chaos, talking, laughing, worrying, and watching the skies. But even as humans debated what the signals meant, one truth became undeniable. They had noticed the aliens, and their response was not fear alone. It was curiosity, defiance, and a willingness to engage in ways that no one, not even the Varnak, could have anticipated. And so, with each passing hour, the aliens learned that the turning point had arrived. Humanity was awake, humanity was aware, and humanity was ready to respond in ways that would change the encounter forever. The Velcura continued to orbit above Earth, quietly observing the chaos below. The alien crew had expected some confusion from a young civilization, but what they were witnessing now was something entirely beyond their calculations. Humans were reacting not just with curiosity, but with intelligence, creativity, and most surprisingly, humor. The more the Varnak tried to analyze the signals from Earth, the more unpredictable the responses seemed. Every action they observed from the planet sparked a dozen more, often completely unrelated. It was as if the planet itself was alive, operating through the will of millions of independent minds.
Captain Rel and his crew had debated what to do for hours.
Tyrell, eager to continue engagement, suggested sending a small demonstration of technology to show peaceful intentions. "We can show them something harmless," he said, "a signal that proves our presence is friendly, that we do not mean harm." Letha, however, warned against it. "They are unpredictable," she said. "Even a small action could provoke a reaction we cannot control. One simple display could escalate into chaos." After long discussion, Rel made a decision. They would send a minor demonstration, a pulse of energy in the upper atmosphere designed to be harmless. It would create a visible display, something to announce their presence in a way humans could notice but not fear. The crew prepared the ship systems carefully, ensuring that the pulse would not damage Earth or its technology. The goal was clear: get the humans' attention without threatening them. When the pulse was sent, the effect on Earth was immediate. Across the world, people noticed strange lights and patterns in the sky. Social media exploded with videos, photos, and commentary. Governments scrambled to understand what had just happened. Military sensors recorded the atmospheric pulse as an unusual energy spike, and fighter jets were immediately dispatched to track the source. Radar systems lit up with activity, and emergency communication networks buzzed with alerts. Humans did not know what they were seeing, but they knew something unusual had occurred. The Varnak crew watched in disbelief. Their harmless display, meant as a simple gesture of communication, had triggered a full planetary response. From orbit, they could see cities on high alert, satellites repositioned, and aircraft scrambling in every direction. Human beings had reacted instantly and decisively, coordinating efforts in a way the aliens had not expected. And yet it was not fear that dominated the human response. It was curiosity, determination, and a kind of playful bravado. Across the world, civilians joined the frenzy. Some people went outside to watch the sky, taking photos and recording videos. Some made jokes about the alien light show, while others claimed it was proof of extraterrestrial visitors. Children played with toy spaceships, imagining themselves defending the planet from invaders. People shared memes and stories, creating a flood of communication that no single authority could control. Humanity's response was decentralized, chaotic yet oddly effective. The Varnak had never seen a species adapt so quickly and creatively to an unknown event. Tyrell tried to interpret the humans' reactions. "They are fighting back in their own way," he said. "Even without knowing what we are or what our technology is capable of, they are organizing defenses, coordinating observations, and responding almost instantly. It's remarkable." Rel nodded slowly, watching the activity below. "It is more than remarkable," he said. "They are dangerous. They are unpredictable, and they are intelligent beyond our initial assumptions." The humans' ingenuity did not stop at observation and defensive measures. As news of the pulse spread, people began experimenting with ways to interact with it. Amateur scientists and engineers tried to replicate the patterns they observed, sending radio signals, laser beams, and even small drones into the air to see if they could communicate back. The Varnak watched as humans improvised solutions in real time, using limited resources to create complex interactions. It was creativity born of necessity, and it was entirely unexpected. Even more surprising was humanity's use of humor. Videos and social media posts flooded with jokes, parodies, and memes about the aliens. People laughed at the unknown, mocking the situation even as they took it seriously. The Varnak had never encountered a species that could combine fear and humor so effectively. It was as if laughter was both a defense mechanism and a form of communication, signaling confidence, curiosity, and defiance all at once. Letha spoke quietly, almost to herself. "They are not afraid. Not really. They acknowledge the unknown, but they do not let it control them. Even in the face of something far beyond their understanding, they react with creativity and courage." Rel turned to her. "It is as if their entire species has evolved for chaos and survival," he said. "Every action we take is met with unpredictable intelligence, and yet they adapt almost instantly. We cannot anticipate what they will do next." The aliens began to realize that their initial assumptions about Earth were entirely wrong. They had believed it to be a relatively primitive, orderly world. Instead, they were witnessing a species capable of rapid adaptation, decentralized coordination, and remarkable ingenuity. Humans could take a minor event, like a harmless energy pulse in the atmosphere, and respond in dozens of ways simultaneously, each response effective in its own right. As the day progressed, more data came in from Earth. Scientists continued to analyze the pulse, trying to understand its origin and meaning. Military forces tracked it, attempting to model its trajectory and potential impact. Civilians recorded it, created art inspired by it, and shared their interpretations online. Humanity had transformed a single moment of alien observation into a global event, creating a web of responses that was impossible to control. The Varnak began to see a pattern in the chaos. Humans were not merely reacting, they were learning and evolving in real time. Each response informed the next. Each observation influenced action. It was a form of collective intelligence, decentralized yet coordinated, spontaneous yet effective. From orbit, the Velcura crew watched in awe as the planet itself seemed to come alive, responding to the unknown in ways that defied prediction. Tyrell summarized what the crew was beginning to understand. "Captain, we are observing more than reaction. We are observing evolution. Each action they take is not just a response, it is a lesson learned, a system improved, a network adapting. They are thriving in chaos." Rel's expression was grave. "It is as if Earth is a death world," he said. "A planet designed to challenge, to test, to refine. And these humans? They are the perfect product of that environment." The Varnak crew now faced a dilemma. They had come to observe, to learn, to establish contact cautiously. But the humans' responses had changed the situation entirely. Every display, every attempt at communication had been met with creativity, adaptation, and resilience. The aliens realized that a direct approach, attempting to communicate more boldly, could provoke reactions far beyond their control. Letha voiced the concern that had begun to dominate the bridge. "Captain, every time we intervene, they respond unpredictably. If we escalate even slightly, we risk provoking a reaction we cannot anticipate. They could destroy our drone or worse." Rel nodded. "We have already seen what they can do. A small pulse meant to be harmless has mobilized an entire planet. We cannot predict the consequences of further actions. We must observe and learn before proceeding." But observation alone was not enough to understand the humans fully. The Velcura crew spent hours analyzing videos, radio signals, and social media posts. They studied human ingenuity in real time, how people built devices to track the pulse, how they coordinated with others across continents, and how they shared information in ways that were both chaotic and efficient. Each discovery brought new astonishment. The crew also noted the human capacity for humor as a tool for resilience. While some humans panicked, others turned fear into jokes, satire, and creative expression. This combination of courage, ingenuity, and levity made the species even more unpredictable. The Varnak had no experience with a civilization that could confront the unknown with laughter and adapt so rapidly. By the end of the first day, it was clear that humans were unlike any other species the Varnak had encountered. Their responses were immediate, inventive, and effective. Their humor, creativity, and ability to adapt made them both fascinating and terrifying. The crew began to understand that Earth was not a planet to be approached lightly. Rel spoke to his officers. "We came here to observe a primitive species," he said. "But what we see is not primitive. They are intelligent, resilient, and utterly unpredictable. If we wish to make contact safely, we must proceed with extreme caution." Tyrell added, "They are fast learners. Each interaction changes them, strengthens them. One small move could alter the course of their response entirely. We must be patient," Letha concluded, "and we must respect that. They are not just reacting, they are thinking, adapting, and thriving in the chaos we have introduced." From orbit, the Velcura crew continued to watch Earth, slowly realizing the truth. They had underestimated this world. Humans were not just alive, they were dangerous in their unpredictability, brilliant in their adaptation, and remarkably capable in ways the Varnak had never imagined. The energy pulse had revealed more than the presence of the Velcura. It had revealed the strength, creativity, and spirit of humanity. And for the first time, the alien crew understood that they were no longer simply observers. They were participants in a dynamic interaction with a species that could respond, adapt, and thrive in ways they could not control. Humans had already proven that they were not afraid. They had responded to the unknown with ingenuity, creativity, and humor. They had taken a harmless demonstration of technology, and turned it into a global event, engaging in ways that were impossible to predict. The Varnak now knew that the next step, direct contact, would be the most delicate, dangerous, and unpredictable part of their mission. As night fell again over the blue planet, the Velcura hovered silently above, watching. Humans continued their work, their experiments, their observations, and their jokes. They were awake, aware, and fully alive. The alien crew realized with a mixture of awe and fear that Earth was not a simple world, and its inhabitants were far more capable than anyone could have imagined. The lesson was clear. The humans were not just reacting, they were evolving, adapting and thriving in ways that no alien species could predict. And the Varnak now understood with growing unease that this encounter would change everything. Humans were not to be underestimated. They were a species forged in chaos, strengthened by unpredictability, and alive in ways that defied comprehension. The stage was set. Humanity had heard, seen, and responded. The Velcura knew the next moments would define the future of this encounter, and deep in their hearts, the crew realized that they had awoken something far more powerful than they had anticipated, the full ingenuity and defiance of the Deathworlders. The Velcura hovered silently in orbit above Earth, watching the planet below as it spun slowly under the glow of the sun. The alien crew had spent days observing the humans, analyzing every signal, every reaction, every pattern of behavior. They had witnessed a species that was chaotic yet intelligent, unpredictable yet incredibly resilient. Every time the aliens had tried to initiate contact or signal peace, humanity had responded in ways that were simultaneously clever, humorous, and effective. It was becoming increasingly clear to Captain Rel and his crew that they had underestimated this species. Earth was far from a passive, primitive world. It was a living, breathing test of resilience and ingenuity, and its inhabitants were more capable than the Varnak had imagined. The crew had now come to a difficult conclusion. Any further attempt at direct communication could be dangerous. The humans were unpredictable, and the aliens could not anticipate how even the simplest gesture would be received. They had seen humans shoot down or interfere with a small drone, and they had watched the species adapt instantly to a harmless energy pulse in the atmosphere. This adaptability was impressive, yes, but it also made humans dangerous. One wrong move could provoke retaliation or create confusion that spiraled out of control. Despite their caution, the Velcura could not help but be fascinated. The humans' creativity and resilience were remarkable. While some humans panicked, most adapted. They analyzed the pulse, coordinated through decentralized networks, and even joked about the situation in ways that showcased their intelligence and social cohesion. The aliens had never encountered a species that could combine fear, humor, and resourcefulness all at once. To the Varnak, it seemed almost impossible that a single species could exhibit such a wide range of behaviors simultaneously. Tyrell, the science officer, watched the data screens intently. "Captain," he said quietly, "they are amazing. Every response, every adaptation, every action, they are learning in real time. It is as if the planet itself is teaching them how to respond to us, and they are doing it flawlessly, almost instinctively." Rel nodded, his pale, glowing eyes reflecting the images of Earth below. "They are not just intelligent," he said. "They are clever, adaptable, and fearless. They thrive on chaos and uncertainty. They turn danger into creativity. They are exceptional." The humans continued to respond to the alien presence in ways that were both logical and unpredictable. Governments attempted to understand the energy pulse, military forces mobilized in a show of defense, and scientists tried to decode its origin. Meanwhile, ordinary people reacted with humor, curiosity, and ingenuity. Social media became a global classroom, where people shared videos, experiments, and even jokes about the alien visitors. A simple, harmless demonstration from orbit had sparked an entire planetary response that was both effective and entertaining. Letha, the communications officer, spoke in a tone of quiet awe. "Captain, they are not afraid of us. They do not panic in the way other species might. They confront the unknown with ingenuity, resilience, and even humor. They are fearless." Rel leaned forward, his mind racing. "It is clear that direct contact is too risky," he said. "Even a small signal could trigger a reaction beyond our control. And yet we cannot leave without learning more. They are not a primitive species, they are something else entirely." The aliens had begun to realize that their mission to study a young, primitive world had turned into something far more complex. Humans were not merely responding to signals, they were analyzing, adapting, and evolving in real time. Every response was a lesson learned, every observation an improvement in strategy. It was a level of sophistication that the Varnak had not anticipated. As the hours passed, the humans' adaptability became even more apparent. Engineers and scientists worked together in ways that bypassed bureaucracies, coordinating experiments and defenses using tools and networks that were rapidly assembled and constantly evolving. Even in the midst of chaos, humans found ways to improve their understanding of the alien presence and to respond creatively. The Velcura crew watched in stunned silence as humans turned a minor display into a planetary-scale exercise in observation, coordination, and innovation. The aliens also noticed the human ability to blend humor with serious action. While military systems were engaged and scientists analyzed data, civilians were making jokes, creating parodies, and imagining fantastical stories about the aliens. Children played with cardboard spaceships, imagining themselves negotiating with or defending against the extraterrestrial visitors. The combination of fear, humor, and ingenuity made the humans completely unpredictable. Captain Rel addressed his crew. "We came to observe a young, primitive species. What we are seeing is something far greater. They are intelligent, creative, resilient, and adaptable. They face the unknown not with fear alone, but with courage, humor, and ingenuity. They are remarkable." Tyrell nodded. "And dangerous," he added. "They can react, adapt, and learn faster than we expected. One misstep, and we could provoke a response we cannot control." The crew spent the next several days observing and analyzing the humans. They documented every action, every adaptation, and every social response. From amateur scientists conducting experiments to ordinary people sharing observations on social media, humans were constantly learning, teaching each other, and coordinating responses. It was decentralized intelligence in action, a form of collective problem-solving that the Varnak had never witnessed before. One evening, as the sun set over Earth, Rel gathered his officers in the observation chamber. "We must make a decision," he said. "Do we continue to observe from orbit or do we risk direct contact?" Letha spoke first. "Captain, direct contact could be catastrophic. They are intelligent and adaptable, but also unpredictable. Any action we take could be misinterpreted or provoke a dangerous response. We should continue observing and learning. Patience is our best option." Tyrell, however, was not convinced. "Captain, if we do not attempt some form of communication, we will leave without truly understanding them. We may miss an opportunity to establish trust. They are clever, yes, but they are also capable of recognizing intelligence and intention. They could respond positively if we approach carefully." Rel considered both points. He knew that the humans were unlike any species the Varnak had encountered. They were creative, resilient, and fearless. They had already demonstrated the ability to adapt to unknown threats and to learn from every interaction. Their capacity for innovation, combined with their use of humor as a social tool, made them unpredictable. But their responses also showed an underlying intelligence that could recognize peaceful intent if presented correctly. After much deliberation, Rel made a decision. "We will not escalate," he said. "Direct contact will wait. We will continue to observe, to study, and to understand them fully before initiating any interaction. They are remarkable and we must respect their capabilities. Any premature action could lead to consequences we cannot foresee." The crew agreed, understanding the wisdom of caution. Yet even as they resolved to wait, they could not hide their fascination. Humans had shown them a species capable of thriving in chaos, of adapting rapidly to new information, and of confronting the unknown with courage, humor, and intelligence. The Varnak realized that they were observing not just a species, but a force of nature, a civilization forged in unpredictability, capable of responding to challenges with creativity and resilience that defied calculation. The days passed, and the humans continued to react to the alien presence. Scientists analyzed signals, military forces monitored the skies, and civilians continued to share observations, stories, and humor online. The Velcura crew watched as humanity displayed a remarkable combination of courage, ingenuity, and adaptability. Every new development provided insights into the species' capabilities, confirming what the aliens had begun to suspect. Earth was a death world, and its inhabitants were among the most formidable beings the Varnak had ever encountered. Finally, Captain Rel addressed his crew once more. "We came here to study a young civilization," he said. "What we have found is a species of extraordinary resilience, intelligence, and adaptability. They are capable of confronting the unknown with courage, humor, and creativity. We must respect them, learn from them, and proceed with caution. Our presence here has already changed them, and they have changed us. This encounter will be remembered as one of the most remarkable in our history." Tyrell added, "Captain, we may have underestimated them, but they have also taught us something invaluable. They are fearless in the face of the unknown, clever in their responses, and united in their chaos. They are truly extraordinary." Rel nodded. "Indeed. We will leave this system for now, but we will mark it as Hazard Class Omega. Do not approach lightly. The humans have proven themselves capable of far more than we anticipated. Any future encounter must be approached with caution, respect, and humility. They are unpredictable, clever, and fearless. They are remarkable." As the Velcura slowly departed from Earth's orbit, the alien crew looked down at the blue planet one last time. Humans continued their daily lives, largely unaware of the full extent of the encounter, but already learning, adapting, and responding in ways that were shaping their civilization. The Varnak had come to observe a primitive world, but they left with a profound respect for a species that had proven itself capable of surviving and thriving in a universe full of unknowns. The humans, in their unique way, had made the aliens regret underestimating them. They had shown resilience, ingenuity, humor, and adaptability that no species the Varnak had ever encountered could match. The Velcura departed in silence, recording the encounter as one of the most remarkable first contacts in history. Captain Rel's final report would describe humanity as unpredictable, resilient, and extraordinarily capable, a species that had turned chaos into strength and fear into creativity. The lesson was clear. Humans were not just another species to be catalogued. They were a force of nature. And somewhere, far beyond the blue skies and the atmosphere, the Varnak would remember the day they contacted the Deathworlders, and how much they had underestimated the beings who called it home. Humans had listened, humans had responded, and humans had proven themselves in ways that would resonate throughout the galaxy. The Velcura crew had learned their most important lesson. Never underestimate the ingenuity, courage, and unpredictability of a species forged in chaos. Humanity had made its mark, and the universe would never forget.